Thank you very much. I want to talk about all of this with Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. He's the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, I also want to start by showing our viewers these pictures. These are live pictures, protesters on the streets of Chicago right now. The protesters reacting to that very disturbing dash cam police video showing a white police officer shooting a young black teenager. That police officer now charged with first-degree murder. We're going to keep showing our viewers these images on their screens, but let's talk about this very disturbing situation. Let's go what's going on in the world right now, even as we show some of these pictures from the streets of Chicago. Congressman, President Obama, as you know, announced today the U.S. knows, in his words, of no specific credible intelligence indicating a plot on the homeland. But there was no specific threat, apparently warning Paris officials of the terror attacks there. Was the president being overly careful in his language because U.S. officials don't necessarily have 100% confidence in the intelligence they're receiving?
Well, you'll never have 100% confidence in what's going on. But I think what the president was doing was reassuring the American people that there's no specific threat. And there have been times, certainly since 9/11, when we have had specific threat warnings from one reason or another, and we don't have that now. Now, as you point out, that's not a 100% guarantee. ISIS is trying to motivate people in a variety of different ways. Many of these people will, simply act on their own. So there would be no specific warning. We have to be, very, very vigilant in tracking down anybody who could potentially threaten us. But I think the president put it in the proper perspective. We can't live in fear every second of an attack. Our intelligence agencies, the FBI, people are working very, very hard to prevent these, and knock on wood, have done reasonably well for the last 10, 15 years. So I think the president was just trying to put the threat in perspective.
In the president's statement today, he said, we're going after ISIL or ISIS wherever it hides. That's been our strategy for more than a year. How's that strategy working out so far?
Well, it's very difficult. I think that strategy is probably the best approach. But look, this ideology with Daesh, with Al-Qaeda, with Ansar al-Sharia, with al-Shabaab, with the groups in Yemen, it's spread, and it is hard to keep track of. In some ways, Al-Qaeda, as Osama bin Laden built it, was an easier target because they built a hierarchy. They built a structure. So if we could figure out that structure, if we could figure out that network, we could go in and break it down, which under the Bush presidency and under the Obama presidency, we did a fairly good job of. What's happened now with the ideology is it's spread. And a lot of these people are self-motivated. It's also metastasized in terms of the organization. So it is very, very difficult, and it's going to take a lot of vigilance. And ultimately, what it's going to take is a defeat of the overall ideology, not any one group.
And very quickly, yesterday I spoke with one of your Democratic colleagues in the House of Representatives, Democratic Representative Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, an Iraq War veteran, served 4 tours of duty there. And he told me bluntly, even though he's a Democrat, he says he doesn't think the administration, the Obama administration, in his words, has a serious enough political strategy right now. He doesn't even think they have a strategy for all practical purposes, given what's going on the ground. What do you say to Seth Moulton?
Yeah, well, I think Representative Moulton raises a decent, issue. I mean, look, the president himself a year ago, or I forget when, said in a press conference, we don't have a strategy yet. And I think that's unfortunate because I think they should be much clearer into how they deliver what their strategy is. And that strategy is to go after Daesh, to go after this group in Syria, in Iraq. But I think the people who are calling for ground forces, that's not going to help. That's only going to fuel the fire. What we need is to support moderate Sunnis in the region, and we need to get reasonable governments in Baghdad and Damascus so that the Sunnis don't feel like they're under attack. So we've got to work with them on that. So I agree with Representative Moulton that the White House could be much clearer, much more straightforward in what its strategy is. I actually think they have a better strategy than what they frequently describe to the media.
The president said we're going to be hearing a lot more about his strategy in the coming weeks. We're anxious to hear that. Obviously, Congressman, stand by. I also want to talk about